Welcome to the True Life Balance Podcast. My name is Brad Lancaster.
And my name is Tiffany Lancaster. And this is a podcast about relationships and deep connection.
And this is a podcast about health and fitness.
And this is a podcast about consciousness and purpose.
And this is a podcast about business, sales, marketing, entrepreneurship. In other words, it's a podcast about everything that we care about. So come along for the ride and hope you enjoy. This was a discussion between Tiff and I. We go over a little intro again into how our relationship started, the values and the commitments that we've made to each other. And we get into some deep discussion about commitments and guarantees. We also go over the tools that we use to navigate our relationship. This is a relationship-focused podcast. And just a warning, if you've got your kids with you, you might want to listen to this without them, especially if they're younger kids. There are some adult topics that we're talking about. I don't know that I'd be comfortable with my kids listening to this one. So, but other than that, hope you enjoy and stay tuned for part 2, which will come later. Well, here we are.
Here we are.
Just me and you this time.
Yeah.
This is what we've kind of always thought about. A mix of guests versus me and you just riffing on what is on our mind and what we've been working on. And we normally keep this to an hour, but I think we have enough time that if we go over an hour today, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Seems like.
Yeah.
I had the thought while I was getting ready just now, it might be... So one of the things we want to do is talk about some of the skills and strategies that we've picked up along the way. Right?
Right. Yeah.
And to set the stage for today, we want to talk about our relationship, but we want to talk about the skills and the strategies that we've picked up that have allowed us to have what we call a successful relationship. Not a perfect relationship. We're not relationship therapists. We're not relationship counselors, and we're not even coaches yet. That's something we want to move towards, right?
No, but we are in a relationship. We have not just a relationship, like we are a second marriage with 8 kids, a huge blended family. Both of our divorces were really ugly. All odds were against us.
Stacked against us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely defied all odds up until, we still are, but.
Right. And while we might not have a certificate behind us, we have some, I can only call it expertise in dealing, and I don't mind calling it expertise.
How else do you gain education if not through experience?
Right. Read books, watch podcasts, watch videos, and but we do all that, right?
The true expertise, is really just doing it, right? That's when you become the expert level, like the whole idea. If you've made it at 10,000 hours, right?
Yeah,
10,000 hours.
Yeah, at 10,000 hours, according to Malcolm Gladwell, in Outliers, he says at 10,000 hours, you can become an expert.
Right. And
would you say we've been working on our relationship for 10,000 hours of conscious work?
I just scheduled our 10-year vow renewal for July 7th, the weekend of July 7th. We're going to go renew our vows.
That's exciting for us. That's really exciting.
What is 10,000 hours?
Well, in 10 years, that'd be 1,000 hours a day. That'd be a little less than 3 hours a day of working on our relationship.
I'd say we're definitely there. I
think so too. One of the unique things about us, it's not terribly unique, but it's a special thing. We work together. And so like some days we ride into the office together. Some days we don't if we need to go in different directions. But we spend time together in our relationship and working. And that's a challenge. And that's one thing that we want to highlight as we go along in the podcast, not just today, but as we move along throughout the series, is some of the challenges that come from working together as well. So some of the biggest challenges that we've worked on and that we're always working on. Number one, the blended family, being parents to stepchildren and kids that come from different cultures, different families even, and bringing that all together. That's always something we are always working on, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the other challenges that come to your mind?
Well, just normal relationship challenges. I mean, there are so many couples that say I could never work with my spouse, you know?
I said that in my first relationship. I think we both said it. I think my ex-wife always said it. Yeah, I could never work with you. And you and your ex-spouse, you did work together for a little bit, right? At the armored car company, but
it wasn't like we weren't together all day.
You just happened to work at the same location.
Yeah.
But going into business with him, would you have ever considered doing it?
No.
Yeah. So, working together, and one of my goals as I left that relationship and was thinking about the type of relationship I'd like to have, because I didn't want to be alone for the rest of my life, I thought it would be amazing to be able to be in a relationship with somebody that I could work with all day.
I definitely always thought the same thing. I think that's one of the things that attracted us to each other, because at the time we were working at Trax, which is a local brewery, bar, restaurant. And we were working there, and they were struggling financially. And we were honestly talking about how we could run the place together, ways we could buy it and manage it and run it. And we were both fired up about that idea of running a business together from the very beginning.
It was like one of our first lunch dates at D's on Redwood Road, right by Salt Lake Community College, because you were going to Salt Lake Community College working on an accounting degree. Is that what you were working towards?
It was just a business degree.
A business degree. And I would come and distract you during lunch. And we went and sat at D's on the corner of whatever that is, 45th South and Redwood, and pulled out spreadsheets and started talking about profit loss potential and expenses, and how we could run a restaurant / bar together. And I was so turned on.
I actually don't think we had any. We were truly flipping over the backside of a napkin, and
oh, you're right.
Yeah, we didn't have anything.
Oh my gosh, isn't that funny? Like my memory, I had a laptop up and had multiple Excel spreadsheets up, but we didn't.
Nope.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Funny what our memories do to us, huh? Mm-hmm. By the way, I feel like I'm slouching. Am I slouching?
Well, that's kind of why I'm sitting like this.
I know, but I can't sit like that. I can't do that pose. My legs don't get up there.
These chairs that we're sitting in are so comfy.
Normally I would be totally okay slouching like this, but I feel like people are watching me, and so I should be sitting up and sticking my chest out. I'm just letting you know, this is an uncomfortable position for me to be viewed in, but
You look great.
Thank you. I'm gonna stay with it. So we had that lunch. We made a run at it. Like we met with the lien holders, or the people that we thought were the lien holders. And anyway.
Yeah, so we knew from the very beginning we were wanting to run a business together. We didn't know exactly what the business looked like, but we knew we wanted to do that. And
we kind of did, because you became the general manager at Trax. Mm-hmm. And then I was one of the, for a minute, I think I was in charge of promotions or something like that. But we worked pretty closely together there, and we were officially a couple by then. That's kind of when we officially became a couple.
Well, it's funny. I think that's really where you bring up a great point. Like that's the first we worked together when we got into a relationship. That's how we met. But I was a bartender and you were security. And I remember early on us having to navigate, being okay, like seeing other people flirt with one another.
That was a hard part.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because it was the bar scene. So,
men would flirt with you. And girls would flirt with me.
Right.
Yeah.
And we both had experiences where we were like witnessing that.
Right.
But we talked about it.
Yeah.
We figured that out early, that we needed to talk about that.
Boy, and I remember, now that we're bringing it up, I can remember being triggered a few times. I didn't know what it meant to be triggered at that time, what it meant to felt. I mean, I knew I felt insecure, but I didn't know why. I didn't know what was going on there, because I was falling in love with you, and I would see other guys, good looking guys, some of them that I thought were better looking than me or smoother than me in some way. And I would get like really nervous. But you did such a good job of assuring me. You've always done an amazing job at that, assuring me and letting me know I was safe.
Yeah.
It's one of the things you really brought to the table for me. Yeah. Anyway, that was a big thing. Still is, by the way. And I understand that, and I see that.
What's that?
So, that you let me, you help me feel safe.
Oh, yeah. I think that's part of a partnership, right?
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Letting the other person know that you're safe, that my love is unconditional. Jealousy has hardly ever been a thing for us. Like, it's not something that we've dealt with, like feeling like you're getting hit on a lot, or I'm getting hit on a lot, or so-and-so is paying too much attention to you or me. One time, only one time when I was in jail. And if you're just following us for the first time, I was in jail in 2016 for 8 months, and former boyfriend, / love interest, whatever, of yours, like you talked to one time, just happened to run into him somewhere at a bar, I think, when you were out with some friends. And that was the only time I have.
Well, there was the coach too.
Oh yeah, there was the coach as well. Yeah, I forgot about that. That was weird. One of the kids' coaches was giving Tiffany a lot of attention, and I wasn't there to see it. The kids noticed it though. Like, I heard about it from the kids too. Anyways, we digress.
Yes.
So, challenges: working together, blended families, raising kids together, and then we've also had to deal with. I mentioned the jail thing, so like we've had to deal with like legal and financial. Well,
and that's what
struggles.
I was going to say. The financial piece is a big piece. Like, the baggage that comes with a second marriage. I mean, we came to this relationship with so much baggage.
Yeah.
So much baggage that most people, I think, wouldn't be willing to take on.
Yeah, to let you guys know, like, the exact baggage that Tiff took on, like, non-negotiable, it seems like at this point anyways, well, negotiable, but anyway, is I have almost $1 million restitution order through the state of Utah now, through my plea bargain. And that's there. Yeah. And we're working on that and trying to figure out how to work through it. And so that's a big piece that would be a relationship killer for so many people. Wait, you're bringing $1 million in debt to this relationship and to our businesses? I don't think so. I don't think so. So are there any other one of the things that we have been, I don't know if it's lucky, if it was just something that was closed, like the door was closed on, is fidelity. Like we've never dealt with, I've been faithful to you our entire marriage. And that's, and not just our entire marriage, but our entire relationship.
Well, I think one of the things that we did early on is we came to the relationship with non-negotiables. That's one thing that I said that I believe was a game changer for us from the beginning.
Yeah.
And the non-negotiables that I can think of that we talked about really early on in our relationship.
Okay, this is actually a key piece. So if you haven't identified negotiables in your relationship or non-negotiables, you should definitely have them. And we did that early on without knowing it. Mm-hmm. I mean, we knew it, but we didn't know this was a key piece. So because this was absolutely something that as we've gone through therapy and relationship coaching and counseling and workshops, they bring this up and we're like, oh yeah, we've had that for the whole time. Maybe we'll refine our non-negotiables and see if we need to add something that we've picked up along the way. But what are the ones that you remember?
The biggest one that I remember is that we would be honest with each other.
Right.
Regardless of hurting the other person's feelings, or like we were going to be just brutally honest.
Yeah.
And so if we were ever going to make a decision, we had already it was a non-negotiable that we were going to be honest about whatever decisions we made or anything that we did. Like, we just needed to be honest about it. We weren't going to keep secrets from each other. We decided that was a core foundational piece to a relationship, because we were trying to take everything that caused our first marriages to fail and learn from that. Like, that's something that we both approach this new relationship with is, what did we do wrong the first time?
That.
Yeah.
Neither one of us, and this is a critical part, I think, of our relationships. As we looked at our previous relationships, I never felt from you that you came to it as a victim. Like, you were a victim. First of all, you were a victim of abuse, but you rarely, like, that wasn't.
I had a really hard time. I still do have a really hard time. The victim mentality is super difficult for me. Like, I still don't like being
right. You even, like, when I say that, so many times you'll say, well, no, we fought.
Right.
Yeah. A man fighting with a woman is abuse. If it's physical, it's abuse. We have an inherent advantage. And so to all you men out there that think that fighting with your wife or girlfriend physically is anything other than abuse, you're wrong. If you're putting your hands on a woman, I mean, we were made differently, whether CNN tells us or not, we were made differently. Yeah. And and there was a lot more. I mean, it was emotional, it was mental, it was right. It was.
I mean,
it was a dysfunctional relationship, and there was abuse involved, and yet you still took responsibility for the relationship and for your part of it.
I chose to be in the relationship.
Right. And what was your impression of how I approached my failed marriage? Who was responsible for it?
You.
Yeah, it was my doing, right? I never blamed my ex-wife.
Yep.
I still don't. I still don't. It was my doing. And so we came to our relationship with an understanding that we were both accountable for our past failings, our past experiences. We were 100% responsible. So I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
Start with, and it was one of the values that we identified early on with each other. Oh, well, you're accountable?
One of the things that attracted to me to you in the first place.
Right.
Because I think we told the story, and maybe it was our first podcast, but the story of us meeting when the first time I talked to you at the bar, and the first thing you said to me, because we were both going through an ugly divorce, and a coworker suggested that I go talk to Brad about, what he's going through, because we were both going through ugly divorces. And the first thing I ever said to Brad was, so Brad, I hear you're going through a nasty divorce too. What caused your divorce? And he said, I cheated on my wife. And I was like, I kind of didn't know how to respond to that, because I had never heard a man be so honest. And I was kind of just taken back. And all of our conversations early on were about you just being 110% honest. Your whole mentality was like, if you're going to know me, you're going to know all of me, and you're going to choose me for me or not choose me at all. And I loved that about you.
Yeah. Thank you. And I still, when I still hear you say that, it calms my nervous system still today. When, because I actually found myself, as you were talking, feeling uneasy about how I was in my previous relationship, how dishonest I was. And when you said that, and by the way, I have to say, the other thing, because I don't want to be a hypocrite, I haven't always been honest with you. And when I haven't, and I've acknowledged it, and it's come to light, you've always been so quick to forgive me.
Well, I think that we're still all human, right? And so non-negotiable doesn't mean that you're perfect at it. It means that's the goal.
Right.
And you're going to fuck up, and you're not going to be perfect. Right? So it means that that's what we're shooting for.
Yeah, that is what it means.
Because we still do subconscious things.
Yeah. That was beautiful.
Thanks.
I didn't expect that.
Well, it's true.
I think that's the first time I've heard you say that, actually, that way. That's what a non-negotiable means.
It's a standard. standard, right?
Yeah. And perfection isn't the goal, right? I say that all the time to our kids, and I say it to our teams at work. We're not trying to be perfect here, guys. We're just trying to get better.
Something that our coach has been saying that's been really resonating with me is practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanence. Like perfection is not possible.
And
Perfection is a facade.
The little boy inside of me still thinks it is.
Yeah.
I was taught otherwise, or I believed otherwise.
Yeah.
Whether I was taught it or not, I believed it. And there's still a part of me that believes that perfection is something that I should be shooting for. Be ye therefore perfect, even as I am perfect. That's what I was told.
Yeah. I think another non-negotiable that we adopted early on was putting each other first.
Yeah.
Which is very, very difficult in a second marriage.
Well, not just the other person, but our relationship.
Yeah.
Right?
Our relationship
has to come first.
Well, we actually followed the example of your parents in this.
Yeah.
Like, I remember observing how your parents would put their partner first because they knew that their partner would always put them first. There was this thing that I really admired about them.
Well, we still do.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were really just we were of a student mindset where relationships were concerned. We went to counseling early on, right? We knew that we needed all the tools.
We went to counseling before we got married.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had friends asking us, why is everything okay? And we thought that was strange. That, of course, everything's okay. And that's why we're going to counseling. That's why we're going to coaching. We want to stay that way.
It's going to require work. And I think, I'm honestly so grateful for our first marriages because it taught us, we learned so much from those first relationships about what not to do the second time around.
No kidding.
And I think it's so funny because not everybody does. I think a lot of people let the fact that their first marriage failed define them as, well, I must not be good at relationships.
Yeah. Well, and one of the key elements to that is that because they blame the other person for the failed relationship.
True.
I think the majority of, I even had friends and family members call me after I was, as I was going through the depths of my despair. I had thrown myself on the sword and said, I'm unworthy. I was unfaithful. And so therefore I'm unworthy of love. I'm unworthy of God's love. I'm worthy of judgment. I'm worthy of shame. And I had family members and friends call me and tell me, hey, Brad, anytime there's infidelity in a relationship, you're not the only one who's responsible for that. Mm-hmm. And I thought, bullshit.
And just like you're protective over me saying you were actually a victim, I tend to lean towards yes and yes. Yes, it's okay to take what's yours there, but it's not all yours.
Yeah.
It's not all yours because there is still truth to that.
Yeah, but if we're going to grow, if we are committed to growth, we have to take 100% responsibility for that. I agree.
Well, I wouldn't have been attracted to you had you not taken any responsibility for it. But you take what's yours and you let the other person own what's theirs. That's what makes it, you don't have to take on more than what's yours. That's not healthy either. It's not healthy to sacrifice and throw yourself on the stake. I beat yourself up,
that's not healthy either.
Shame.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that just perpetuates that story. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is especially, I can only speak from a man's perspective, but I know women do the same thing when you've done something wrong. Like for me, it was cheating on my first wife. I can see that behavior and I can see the guilt and I can see the shame and I can see the judgment and I can see the lack of love that creates. And if I stay in that, I will just stay there. and I'll stay in that very low vibrational quadrant, or that lowest level of existence where you're always there. And so we both, well, I try to take the step of courage to move out of there.
Right.
And say, yes, not even I did that. That happened. The Brad of 2002 to 2006 did that, or 2001 to 2006, somewhere along those lines. He did that. And that's not me anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's a funny thing. It's so true, because people who knew the Brad pre our relationship,
yeah,
they talk about a different person.
Yeah.
And, the time I went to lunch with your ex-wife. Yeah. I went to lunch with his ex-wife. Her attitude has actually always been like, he's going to do this to you too. You're going to be sorry. Like, he's going to screw you over too. And,
right.
And I know she's probably not the only one that's thought, like, why would you want to be with someone who's a cheater?
Well, I've wondered that. Like, why would you even want to be with me? Do you not know what I've done?
Yeah. But I think for me, and I don't even like using the word judged, but, I took in the information from the person that I was observing, and the person I was observing was nothing like this person that other people described to me. And it's true. Like, to look at the pictures of you from back then does not even look like the same person that you are today. Yeah. And like, you describe this person, this old Brad, it's not a Brad I've ever known.
Right.
And I think it just speaks to people absolutely do change.
Yeah.
People can.
People can. And they do.
Well, I think it's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Well, not for everybody.
Well, for better or worse, people change. Like, my ex-husband is not the same person.
Oh, that's a good point. I was actually going to say, and then I realized I was wrong. I was going to say, well, if you're conscious about it, but actually it doesn't require consciousness to change. No. Because you can keep slipping into more and more destructive behaviors, like your ex-husband, who has slipped into drug abuse and really more self-abuse, and I don't know, but he's homeless now, or at least he was. I don't know where he's at right now, but and he's been in and out of jail, and that's not who he was when he was married to you.
He had never been in jail. He was in the military. I went through
he was working a job,
career with him.
He was a great dad.
Had a job. He was an amazing dad.
Like, he was a great dad.
He was.
Yeah.
And now he doesn't see his kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, that guy is not around anymore.
Yeah. So people can change, and it doesn't have to be necessarily a conscious thing.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about
what are non-negotiables? Can you think of any other non-negotiables that we adopted early on in our relationship?
So truth was going to be one of the things. One thing I was going to say, like, it seemed like early on in our relationship, we would test each other out. We would say, "Oh, you want truth? You can't handle the truth." That Jack Nicholson line from A Few Good Men. And we would just drop bombs on each other.
Right.
Like stuff that would scare most people.
Dark skeletons.
Dark skeletons. Closet. Yeah. And we don't need to get into those right now, but if anybody wonders what they are, like, it's some dark shit, right? And we'd throw it at each other. Not in it was never, at least I never felt like it was a test, really. It was almost like, okay, we're saying this. Do we really mean it? Let's try it.
Yeah.
I need to heal this. And every time we would bring one out, like, I'll be very
candid.
And this is hard for me to admit, and this is an adult podcast, and so if you're listening with your kids, maybe you shouldn't be. But I paid sex workers to have sex with me. And it's hard to ever remove the shame of that.
Yeah.
And I told you that right away.
And it wasn't like that was an easy pill to swallow for me. But I saw this man sitting in front of me being completely vulnerable, like just coming from the heart as to all the, like explaining all the reasons why you went there, what got you there, and explaining to me all the reasons why you know it's wrong and why you would never do it again, and how, like, that's redemption. That's redemption, you know?
God, I felt, just before I told it to you, I felt like the unease of, oh, fuck, I'm going to do this again. I have to say this again. And you did exactly the same thing. You let me know you love me and you see me. And like, even as I'm here now, I'm so grateful that you're able to do that. And I don't know where that comes from. I wonder about where that comes from, but your ability to see me and love me despite, and there's others, and you continue to pour into me. I mean, we had some others, like non-negotiables. Infidelity was one of them.
Yeah, it was. I remember telling you, if you ever, because what I knew to be true is that infidelity is just a symptom of a bigger problem.
Right.
So what I said to you is, if you ever want to cheat on me, let's just end it. Just end it first.
Right. Yeah. And I acknowledged that was the biggest, act of cowardice of my previous relationship, because I had the ability to simply say, I am not pleased. I'm not happy. I'm not satisfied sexually. I'm going to end this. Or something needs to change.
Or let's address the elephant in the room. Like, we need to be honest about, we need to be honest about the thoughts of infidelity.
Right.
Like, you have to shine the light on that.
You and I have in our relationship even shared dreams.
Yeah.
That we've had. Like, and if there's ever been a conscious thought, and the closest I've ever come to a conscious thought is when I've told you that I've seen another attractive woman, and I've seen her as an attractive woman. One of the blessings of infidelity, and I'm going to call it that, is that you can learn to shut the door.
Yeah.
And I want to say that to men. Like, if you will really own it and stop blaming anybody else for it, and own your cowardice, because to cheat is to be a coward. And I don't care who you are. If you've cheated, you're a coward because you didn't tell your partner the problem. Because the only reason to want somebody else, I mean, I shouldn't say the only reason, but one of the biggest reasons to want somebody else is you're not feeling the love, the affection, the connection that your partner deserves.
Well, that's all you're craving, right?
Yeah.
You're craving a connection. You're craving love.
Yeah.
It's that little boy inside of you that's just wanting to be loved, and you're not courageous enough to say, I just want to feel love. And the reality is the way that men feel love, and I don't think there needs to be any shame around that. They need connection. They need sex.
Yeah.
And not just sex, but intimacy.
Yeah.
Intimacy is what everybody feels love through intimacy, especially when it's true intimacy. And so when that is lacking, naturally,
men will, but women will as well.
Yeah.
Humans will look for it.
It may be more emotional for women.
Right.
But they will seek it out. We will seek it out somewhere, because it's natural. It's
and here's why I call it cowardice. Because you're not willing to go to your partner and have this very hard conversation. Because it's a fucking hard conversation to acknowledge, I'm not satisfied. I'm not happy
sexually, from an intimate level, from a connection level.
Which is why I think it is required that you have these ground rules, right?
Yeah.
These foundational pieces where you say, if you come to me, which is really what we've been practicing and learning recently, is that you need to have the type of relationship that when you come to your partner and say, I need to talk to you about something, that you have a safe place to do that.
Yeah.
That you're safe to be seen. Both.
Yeah. And really what we like, that negotiable that we had early on, and we've written it down now in our non-negotiables as we just recently went through them, is personal boundaries. We respect each other's values at the same level of our own. And for both of us,
Yeah.
having a monogamous, faithful relationship was something that we both valued.
Yeah.
And because we've seen the damage up close in our own relationships and in other relationships close to us, so that was something that was important.
Yeah.
What?
I just
Tell
want to,
me.
so we recently, we've just talked about how we've always been committed to the growth in our relationship. And I have our pact, our personal guarantees written down right in front of me. And I think we should
You want to go over it right now?
Yeah, I think we should share them.
So these are the personal guarantees. You want to review how we came up with these, what the steps were that we followed, or just go over them, dive right into them?
Let's just dive right into them.
Okay, so these are the commitments and guarantees that we've made to each other, that we've built. So
Yeah.
let's go over it.
So the first one, I don't know, do you have the same ones written down over there? Okay.
I think we're really close. Like we
Okay.
did them individually through a course that we were just in, but then we compared them. So if there's something we're missing, we'll go over them.
Okay, so I will not threaten to leave you in triggering moments. So in a moment when one of us is triggered, we will not threaten to leave. I think that's a really important one.
So just to define a triggered moment is when you've gone from a state of calm, openness to you're feeling threatened. Your heart rate, like physiologically, your heart rate is probably increased. Did I say probably? Probably is probably increased. Your physically, you've changed. Something has changed. Maybe you're sweating,
charged,
and then you're
upset.
emotionally charged too. And so it's evidenced in multiple ways. We promise that we will not use the threat of leaving during those moments when either of us is. Okay.
I will always self-reflect and be accountable. And that's a huge, huge, huge one. And one of the biggest reasons why...
Fuck, Tiff, we could talk about that for hours and hours and hours. The ability to self-reflect and be accountable. I want to talk about this morning, by the way, in that with our daughter.
Yeah.
So go ahead, but you were going to say something first.
Well, and I just want to say really quick that this is the thing that Brad has always been amazing at, and the reasons why I've always been able to give him so much grace, and the reasons why I feel so confident that he will not cheat on me. And I'm saying that on this podcast just because he's done it in the past. Like I if I were a betting woman, I would bet everything on the fact that he will never cheat on me. And this is why.
Be a safe bet. Yeah. Whatever you've got, throw it down.
He's made a commitment to always be accountable, and he's not always perfect in the moment. And same thing for me, by the way, we do this for each other. But if there is a moment where I recognize that Brad is not being his highest self, all I need to do is ask him to self-reflect, and it's never been a problem.
So let's talk about how it happened this morning.
Okay.
So because I think this is such a crucial piece. So we have a 12-year-old daughter, and she is phenomenal. She is so incredible. She's a beautiful dancer. She's an incredible energy. And like anybody that has a child with high energy, they can also be challenging.
The irony is she reminds me so much of Brad. Like, I think she is such a mirror for Brad because, she's not his child. She's not his DNA. She is his child.
She's absolutely my girl.
She's not his DNA, but she is Brad. Like, she has his energy. She has his, like, you know, they can come off as selfish sometimes because they are just so driven. And that's just how she is.
So the story, am I okay to share the story? Okay. So the story is, all the kids' spring break in our school district starts today, except for the charter school that our kids go to. Their school spring break doesn't start today. It doesn't start until Monday. And yesterday, our daughter wanted to be gone, miss school today. And we said, you can't miss school. You've missed too much school because this has been a crazy year with everything. And you can't miss school if you're not sick. You can't just miss it because all of your friends that don't go to your school are going to miss. And when she came up this morning,
she has major FOMO. She's very social. So
yeah. And she wants to be where all of her friends are going to be. And I can't fault her for that. And she came up, and the first thing she said when she sat down next to you was, "I love you, Mom." And I thought, oh boy, here we go. And she started talking to you immediately about missing school today. And we had a long discussion yesterday about missing school, or the last night about missing school. And we had said, no. And this morning, as I was pouring a cup of coffee, and she was, what I thought was badgering.
Brad was like, no, we already said no. We're not going to hear about it. And if you say another thing about it, I'm going to take your phone. And she's like, but can I just say one more thing? And he's like, no, give me your phone. Give me your phone.
I said, if you want to lose your phone, you can.
Yeah. And she was just asking to say one more thing. And I, you know, one of our values
or commitments to each other.
Yeah. That we will talk to each other and our children with respect. And we try to be conscious parents as well. That is something that we're always shooting for. And I didn't want to tell our daughter that she couldn't be heard, because I don't think that's healthy. There's a difference between letting her be toxic, but we can allow her to be heard without being toxic. So I told her, yes, you can tell me one thing before you go and get ready for school. And she told me that she didn't want to be checked because she actually has solo practice today, which I was going to check her out early of. And she's also doing acting classes. And so her last period of the day, she's been getting checked out every Monday for this acting class. And then she told me that her teacher was starting to get annoyed the acting class is over. So she's not going to be getting checked out of this class anymore. But today she was going to be, because she has solo practice. And she was worried about her teacher getting upset with her because she was going to be getting checked out of her last class again. So she said she'd rather just not go to that class.
Yeah, and not deal with the anxiety.
So could she just miss the last period of the day rather than the entire day?
And she deals with anxiety in that teacher's class anyways.
Right.
Not just because of that. It just happens to be one of the classes that she has the most struggle with, and struggles with the teacher.
Yeah.
And I said something like, no. We already said no. Go to your room. Give me your phone. The complete opposite of conscious parenting. And I sat down and I wanted to tell Tiff, like,
I don't feel like you're backing me on this. You let her talk.
Yeah. We've already had this discussion, and you said, so something like what I heard was, is that really the kind of parents we're going to be, that we don't even let our kids talk to us? We don't have to change our decision, but our kids deserve to be heard. And we believe all people deserve to be heard. It doesn't mean you change what you're doing or that your values change, but we should all be able to be heard. And it hit me. I was like, no, I don't want to be that dad that says, no, you don't get to ask why. No, I don't care about your opinion. Just do what I say, period, the end. But that's exactly what I did.
Well, society teaches that, right? Like, our parents said to us, no, because I said so.
Yeah. My dad, when he was 36 years old, said that to me. Yep. My dad now, as a 76-year-old, would probably never say that to me. In fact, I've watched him as a grandparent. He hardly ever says, because I said so. In fact, I don't think he even knows how to say that anymore. He's evolved way past that.
Right.
But when he was 35, raising me, 36, 37, and was in the middle of a busy career, and he didn't have time to negotiate with a 12-year-old.
Well, and that's what society said at that time.
Yeah. And so I accepted that. That was okay. And then I just perpetuated it with my 12-year-old. And I saw it. And in a moment of self-reflection, so I got up and I went downstairs and I told our little girl, I am sorry. There's no excuse for me to not listen to you. And I will always listen to you. And you can always, always tell me what's on your mind. I may not agree with you, but you can always talk to me. And I'm sorry for telling you that you couldn't talk to me.
Yeah.
She started crying and put her head on my shoulder and gave me a big hug. And I asked her, do you forgive me for being a big, dumb human? And she said, of course. And so that's how self-reflection shows up. And then be accountable. Being accountable is acknowledging, this is what accountable for me is. You acknowledge the thing that happened. Don't blame yourself. Just acknowledge it. And then come up with a strategy to move forward. So in this instance, me saying, I acknowledge that was wrong with me, and I will always let you speak to me. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and the other thing to note there is, again, perfection isn't the goal, and you'll screw it up again.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
What's next on your list?
I promise to always return to love, truth, and source.
That's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is one we've been working on when we are in the middle of a disagreement. Coming back to
When one of us is triggered.
Or
both of us.
Disagreeing. We're not agreeing. We're not seeing eye to eye. The one thing that we can always agree on, the one truth, is that we love each other. And when we can remember that we're in love, and that what's the ultimate outcome that we want from this? Because we're still in love. Like, we want to approach this from a place of love, truth, and our highest selves, right?
What is, so when you say that, the question that just came to mind for me, I know what the answer is for me, but like when we say, what is the ultimate outcome that we're looking for?
We're looking for coming to solving the problem. Like, we have this issue that's over here. It's not you. It's not me. We are not the problem. The problem is outside of us. This is just an obstacle that we need to overcome. And there's no need to internalize it or identify with it. It's another opportunity for growth. You know, every time we overcome some crazy obstacle, it brings us to this new level in our relationship.
Yeah.
And so when we have a disagreement like that, for me, it's just another obstacle to get us to this level. You had said to me one time, you were listening to, I don't know, I think it was a relationship podcast or something, where, or maybe it was a book you read. It stuck with me though. You said to me that, the book, whoever it was, right? They talked about how they almost, I don't want to say, I don't think the word was like looked forward to an argument, because of the beauty on the other side of an argument. Every time he and his wife or whatever would have an argument, he was almost excited for what was to come on the other side of the argument. And I guess that's what I'm.
Well, yeah. And that's what happens. So I've discovered over the last few months that when we talk about doing the work, and this is a phrase that is used a lot in the spiritual / self-improvement community. Are you doing the work? People that are on this path, they talk about, are you doing the work? The work for me, the most clear definition of it that I've heard is from Matt Nash, the yoga couple, and their book, The Inner Work. And it's that the inner work is the removal of all obstacles that prevent you from feeling the most amount of peace, freedom, and joy in your life. And
That's beautiful.
The good news is the only obstacle that truly exists is yourself. So that's the inner work that we're talking about. So when we're talking about what is it all for, it's so that we can remove one more obstacle. And we have made a commitment to each other that we're doing it together. I've got to do the work for myself to remove obstacles that keep me from feeling that joy, peace, freedom, happiness. You're doing the same, and we've committed to do it together.
Yep.
And so the ultimate goal is that that we continue to remove the obstacles, understanding that the biggest obstacles are ourselves. So when we talk about returning to truth, love, and source, and source can mean in whatever you want it to mean. It can be the sun, it can be the universe, it can be God, it can be whoever you want it to be, whatever you want it to be. But understanding that there is a source for creation, and we get to be a part of that. Maybe we are that.
Yeah, I love it. So the next one, am I okay to move on to the next pact that we have? Personal guarantee. I promise to co-create a safe, stable, judgment-free home and environment. This is a new one. Like, this is something that we've just adopted because in doing this work that Brad talks about, we've found out what some of our core, I guess, traumas, shadows, what those things are. And for me, it's the fact that I grew up without a stable, safe environment. My brain is wired to constantly be worried about whether or not I have stability or foundation under me because I have the lower chakra. My root chakra is very traumatized. And so it's just the way I operate, right? It's the way I'm hardwired. And so that is something that I need to have. I need to know that I'm safe, that I'm stable, that everything's going to be okay. Oh. And the judgment is for Brad.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's safe, stable, and judgment-free home environment. Yep. And it's.
Yeah. Do we want to talk more about that one or should we?
I think it's good. Yeah.
Okay. I promise to show up for your needs and self-healing. That one's pretty self-explanatory. We support each other.
Well, a key thing in that is that you have to be able to be honest enough with each other about what your needs really are. Like one of the things that you just talked about, you need to feel that support. So there are key items that I need to be engaging in. Like one of the things is making sure that our bills are paid, making sure that some of the things that I've pushed off on you, that I take them back. And so, like men think, well, my need is sex. I need sex. And that's true for most men. I have other needs as well. And I need somebody that will listen to me.
Right.
And let me ramble and talk. And I can do a lot of that.
Yeah.
And you do that for me.
Well, this is where knowing what your shadows are by doing that shadow work, and also, simple things like knowing the love language of your partner.
Yeah.
You commit to helping to make your partner feel loved and supported. That's the point, right? That's
one thing I don't know if I ever said this when we went over the love language portion of the training with Matt Nash. The realization for me, like we think that we have our primary love language and then like the others don't matter. It's not true.
Yeah.
We all those 5 love languages, they all matter at some point.
Yeah.
To every single one of us.
Yeah.
Like I've said for a long time, I've told myself this lie that I'm not a good gift giver because I don't like getting gifts. What a fucking lie. I love getting gifts. It's just not something I ever consciously think about. Like, oh, I hope somebody gets that. But when somebody surprises me with a gift, I feel so much love.
Yeah.
But I've told myself for a long time that, I don't need to engage in that because I don't care about gifts.
Yeah.
But the truth is, like in every love language, and we don't need to spend a lot of time. If you haven't read the love languages, spend some time looking at it and acknowledge that you have like the way that you share love. The primary method that you share love is probably how you like to get it. But your partner has something else that they like, the way they share love, and that's how they like to receive it. But there's 5 love languages, and we all like to receive it every single one of those ways.
Right.
With words of affirmation, with touch, with
favorite.
Time. We have a favorite. Yeah.
We have a favorite.
Kind
a way
of a go-to.
that's more effective, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Here's the one that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
I guarantee to treat you and all of our kids with respect, including my language and tone.
Yeah. And this is probably one of the ones that I think we wrote so that I would be honest about this. I mean, we can both always work on it.
No,
but
I mean, there's been times I've raised my voice. I was raised in a very loud household, and you have called me out for it before. Like, all you have to say to me is, "You sound like your mom," and I'm like, "What?" Don't ever say that to me, except do if I do.
Yeah, I think the key thing for that, especially for second marriages, number one. We eliminated your and my kids early on in our relationship. So if you're involved in a second marriage, by the way, acknowledge one thing. Number one, first marriages have about a 50% success rate. So only about 50% of first marriages succeed, according to stats. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's what they say. And then according to the same people that give you that stat, it's about 75 to 80% of second marriages fail. So only about 20 to 25% of second marriages work. Again, whatever that means. But so the odds are stacked against you.
We saw those stats early on in our marriage, and we were like even more. I don't want to say that it like scared us, but we were even more diligent about, okay, if we're gonna do this,
it's like a slap in the face. Like, are you sure you know what you're coming up against? Right? It's like a cold bucket of water being dumped on you. Are you sure? Like, this is coming your way.
Well, we're just going to have to be even more diligent about how we approach this, because I'm not looking to do this whole thing over again just to have it fail and not work.
Yeah. And so we decided that one of the things we decided early on, and it was not I think it was after we got married. Was it after we got married or before we got married that we stopped calling them our kid or your kids, my kids? Was it before or after?
I think it was after we got married.
Yeah, after we got married, we stopped calling them her kids, my kids. They just were our kids.
That's when because that's when it could be official, right? Like, we're married, like, these are our kids.
Right. Yeah. And so the respect thing, like, it's not, it's acknowledging, because I struggled with this thing. Well, they're different kids. Like, we have different relationships with all of them, not because we fought about how to treat different kids, right? And I would dive deep into my ego about like stupid shit, but basically we came up with this is the guideline. If we're just talking to all of our kids and each other with respect, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you speak with respect. Okay.
Last one is, I will consult you about financial decisions. And this is not to say that one or the other person controls the other, and, controls what they're spending money on. But the fact of the matter is, when you're in a partnership, you're saying, I love the analogy of like, we're the two video game characters in this video game, and we're going to win this board together. Like, we're partners. We're going to conquer this together. You're going to watch my back. I'm going to watch yours. I'm going to make sure you don't die. You're going to make sure I don't die. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, finance is a big piece of that, right?
Yeah.
And especially, in our situation where there's a part of me that's really grateful for this huge $1 million judgment that Brad eventually has to pay off, because I feel like the gift in that is that we are learning how to be financially free, like we have to learn how to get fucking wealthy, because it's not an option for us to run away from that forever.
It's not going to go away.
It's not going anywhere. We have to pay that off, whatever that's going to look like. And that's who we are. I mean, we've committed to living in integrity. And so we have to be diligent and take it really serious. Like, we have to go out and make money. And so finances is a big piece of what we have to conquer.
One of the things that, the strategies that we picked up, you said that's it, but there's still another half a page.
You're right.
What I'm wondering though, Tiff, is if maybe we should reserve those for another time, because we are already, we're already an hour into this.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I'm thinking this is a good time to pause. And so this will be part 1 of guarantees and commitments that we've made to each other. And by the way, the guarantees and commitments are like one of the key strategies, because we can come back to this. They're written down. We both have them written down. One of the things we want to do, and I've been saying this, is I want to put them up on like a parchment paper, like a constitution like looking thing with calligraphy, and put it up so that we can see it as a family, or maybe block print, something that will last. And then maybe our kids can have, and they don't have to have it as like their own, but they can have it as an example of something. But I thought another thing that we could leave with is scripting and the power of scripting. One of the core elements of manifesting, and this idea that you can manifest. So the process is to first visualize, right? And we spend time doing that, visualizing, so we can have a vision and make that vision crystal clear of what it looks like. Like when I say, what does it look like? It's that life of joy, of happiness, of freedom. And so we're committed to it. And one of the ways we're committed to it is that we take time, most mornings or evening, to script, and that's in a journal, or maybe it's a planner that you have, but something where you can see, and it's again a sentence that starts, and it's, I'm so grateful and happy now that, and then you simply write out what it looks like when
I'm so happy and grateful now that.
You have so happy and grateful, and I have so grateful and happy. So
they both work.
Do you think the order matters?
No, I just wanted to point that out.
But I wonder if it does.
I don't think it does.
Okay, so I am so happy and grateful now that, and the first thing that I always write when I'm scripting is, now that I have paid off all my obligations and am experiencing true financial freedom. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge one for me, because for the last decade plus, I've been under this weight, this financial weight, obligation to pay people back that invested in me prior to the 2008 real estate crash. And here I am in 2022, 14 years later, still dealing with the weight of that.
Yeah.
And I want to be liberated of that. And so the question I ask myself as I script is, who do I have to become to be able to do that? By the way, doing this podcast and putting myself out there and saying this is who I am is part of it for me, because I believe that being really operating in integrity is being this open for everybody and letting other people know you can hit rock bottom. You can be either bankrupt or on the verge of bankrupt. You can bankruptcy. You can be kicked out of your family, kicked out of your society, kicked out of your culture, because all those things happened to me. And you can build again. You can start again. It's going to be hard. There are going to be so many moments where you want to stop, where you want to quit, where you want to leave, either figuratively or literally.
But it's, again, you choose your hard.
Yeah.
Because losing everything and being a loser for the rest of your life, being homeless, that's fucking hard.
Yeah.
It's just like your health.
Yeah.
Being obese, having all these health issues.
That's hard.
That's fucking hard.
Yeah.
So is working out. So is working on your health.
Yeah.
So is choosing eating, the other. So choose your hard.
Yeah, choose it.
Life is hard. And that just is. That's a reality.
Yeah. So choose your hard. And for me, I get to choose what I'm going to do about this, what I'm going to do about because living with that for the next, however long I'm going to live, because I'm not going to take my life. I'm not going to exit. I'm not going to run away to Mexico, or anywhere else for that matter.
I think I want to say, for the sake of the topic of this podcast, relationships are hard.
Relationships are hard.
Being in a relationship is hard. And we're not here to say that it's anything but really hard.
Yeah.
But there is massive reward in committing and having a partner that you can trust, that loves you, that has your back. And for me, I choose the hard of, having the reward of a partner, a life partner who's going to be standing by my side in this lifetime, for better or for worse.
Yeah,
it's worth it to me.
I absolutely am. How do you feel? Did you get to say everything you needed to say for this?
Yeah. Sounds like we're going to have a part 2. So
we have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll have a part 3.
Yeah.
And probably a part 4. A couple thoughts that I had before we got here. Do you mind? It's not tangential. It's right on the same thing.
Yeah.
There's a couple people that we've been listening to and following lately that have been meaningful to me. And I wanted to just make sure to acknowledge them and also make sure people are following them. One of them are Matt and Ash, the yoga couple. You can find them on Instagram at the yoga couple.
We're going to be interviewing them on our podcast.
Oh, you're sharing that secret?
I am.
No, there's no secret.
I
know you're not good at keeping secrets.
Well,
we're so excited.
Yeah,
we are so excited to have Matt and Ash on. They are just a beautiful, beautiful couple who are doing the work and sharing more tools. A lot of the tools that we're sharing, we picked up from them. Some of them we picked up on our own. They probably teach everything we've gone over, but they are, I can call them masters. We might be experts, they're masters at this. And we're actually...
Well, I mean, yes. And I mean, while they're teaching the course, we actually watched them have disagreements and use the tools that they were teaching us right in front of us.
It's beautiful.
So masters is not to say that they don't have triggers, and work. The work is never done.
I believe in them so much that I am going down the yogic path, and I've been going down this yogic path since 2016 when I first read a book in jail. And but much like Matt, I looked at yoga as a way of like maybe enlightenment, a way towards learning a new way of life, and was kind of turned off by the yoga scene of like focus, because I have physical limitations. I have these knees that don't bend. There's a lot of poses that I simply cannot get into. And I have a prosthetic knee. My right knee is a fake knee, and it doesn't bend all the way. And so I have these physical limitations.
The funny thing is so I've been following the yoga couple for a lot of years.
Yeah. At least since 2018.
Yeah. And Brad has come to Wanderlust with me, which is a big yoga festival. We've gone like every year for 5 years. But other than doing that, he really has kind of not been really embracing yoga as much as I have. And
not the asana part.
Right.
Not the physical practice of it. While I still do it, it hasn't been a part of my physical.
But we haven't been super united on taking this yogic path together as a couple. It's actually been something that's been really hard for me.
Yeah.
And when I initially, introduced Brad to the yoga couple, he was actually a little triggered, but then agreed to do this thing. Anyway, it's been a beautiful journey because I'm just super excited.
Well, I'm letting it be known that I'm enrolling in their yoga teacher training, which I'm stoked about.
So exciting, because just recently we went, do you remember when Gabe and Trenton went and did their yoga teacher training? Yeah. And I was like, Brad, you really need to come and do this. And you're like, I know, I will, maybe eventually. It's like a dream of mine.
Yeah, it just never felt, the timing never felt right. And I wanted it to be authentically me.
Yeah.
I wanted to find a connection with somebody that I thought understood, because yoga is so many things. And for me, like the last thing that yoga is are poses.
That's true.
Right. But for Western culture, the first thing people think about when they hear yoga is downward dog, warrior.
It's an exercise.
It's an exercise. It's a way to exercise.
Yeah,
and the exercise is like such a small piece of it. So I'm really excited to be, so follow Matt Nash. That was the whole point. And the other couple that we're also going to have on our podcast next week are Craig and Steph, the Energy is Love podcast. We were on their podcast, and if you haven't gone to reference it, we've shared it, but maybe I've thought about trying to grab it from them and post it here on our podcast. Craig and Steph are an amazing couple who are doing deep work and are available for coaching as well. And if you're a couple or if you're an individual who's, and they're here in Utah. So I really strongly suggest people. I feel like Craig and I are like kindred spirits. I feel a deep connection to him, another dude that's a big guy that's not afraid to get really vulnerable and cry and share hard shit. And so I think I want people listening to them if they can.
Absolutely.
So if both of our followers will listen to them, that will help out a lot. I don't know how many people are following us right now, but if you are listening to this and anything like touched you or inspired you, I would just remind you, when you get that inspiration, take action. There's something in your gut, in your heart, that's telling you, I need to do this. I don't know what it is coming out of this, but there's probably something. If you've listened to this and it's done that, and if it hasn't and you've just enjoyed it and it's been entertaining, that's fine too. We want to also remind you that you need to take action. And if you're listening to this while you're driving, pull over and write something down if you're feeling that. Or if there's a note you need to send or a call you need to make, take action right now. Don't wait. This life is short, and the beauty is in between those moments of inspiration and action, or stimulus and action. That's where you show up. That's where soul freedom exists. Something happens and you know, I need to do this thing, or you feel that you need to do it, and then you take the action. That's how you show yourself and prove to yourself again and again and again. And by the way, if you get that inspiration and you don't take the action, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
And
too. I'll
just add to that: if you're in a relationship that's struggling, that's not necessarily a sign that you need to end the relationship. The yogic path of relationships says that our partner is our biggest mirror, the biggest reflection of our shadows. So that's what your partner is meant to do. They're meant to trigger you. They're meant to show you all of those deep, dark shadows within you that need work. And so it's an invitation for you to grow together as a couple. So there's hope. It takes work, but it's worth it.
And anything that takes work is going to be hard. And I love you so much.
I love you too.
How did this go?
Great.
Thank you very much. We'll see you guys soon. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff.
Yep.
God, you're beautiful.
This podcast was brought to you by True Agency Real Estate. If you want to check us out, our website is www.utahtrueagency.com, and we are also on all of the socials.